The ancient Benedictine Abbey Church, St Vigor of Cerisy-la-Forêt, is one of the best preserved Romanesque churches in Normandy. It was built in late 11th or early 12th century. This is the plan of the original state, but when the monks had left the abbey after the French Revolution, the church became a parish church and was reduced to this present state. Yellow parts are later addition. In 10th century, after a long period of vandalism, the Vikings gained the territory in north of France, the Duchy of Normandy. Its first capital was Rouen along the Seine, and the second capital was Caen. And here are Bayeux and Cerisy-la-Forêt we are going to talk about. The Church of Cerisy shows a lot of typical Norman features. The main apse doesn't have an ambulatory, so that semicircular wall rises up high from the ground. These buttresses are later addition to reinforce its weakness. The choir aisles end flatly, and there's a huge square tower on the crossing. Inside, you see central vessel, crossing, and choir. The central vessel has three-tiered elevation: grand arcade, tribune, and clerestory. This is a clustered pier of the grand arcade. The tribune opens by two small arches framed in by one arch. The clerestory opens by three arches, behind which there are a passage and a window. There are tribunes at both ends of the transept, what is typically Norman. And the beautiful apse is a rare achievement of Normandy Romanesque, which has luckily come down to our age. The apse has three levels. The first level shows the windows in a very thick wall. The second level has a passage to walk through. The third level opens with more delicate arches, although they have been modified during 13th century. These passageways within the wall is the typical feature of Normandy architecture. This is the clerestory of the transept. But how these passages came to be made in Normandy? How it became possible to circulate in passageways high up inside a basilican church. First of all, let's see the construction of early Christian basilica from 4th to 7th centuries. The nave consists of a central vessel and aisles, just like medieval basilican church. The elevation of central vessel has two levels, grand arcade and clerestory. The simple and thin wall of the central vessel didn't make it possible to build in passageways above the ground. But in Romanesque period, 11th to 13th centuries, the wall of basilica becomes thicker and more complicated. Between grand arcade and clerestory, there appears another element such as triforium or tribune. Furthermore, in Normandy, they made a passageway in the wall. Using a technique of épais, there is thick wall in French, or mur évidé, that means hollowed wall. This technique seems to be established in 1070s or 1080s. Namely, there is a void between the outside wall and the arcaded screen facing the central vessel. A bold structure like this was possible because Romanesque churches of Normandy didn't use heavy stone vault but used wooden ceiling at first. As a result, just as one could walk in the tribune, one could walk through passageways at the clerestory. Now let's walk through passageways in the high places and go around inside the Church of Cerisy. The reason why they made such a circulation system is not certain. It may have been necessary for maintenance of the building or for architectural design. But it seems they also liked being high up to look down the sanctuary and just to walk around. When completed in early 12th century, the passageways most likely went around the whole church. Architects of Normandy stuck to it more than anyone in other regions, and Cerisy is the most developed example in Norman Romanesque. Finally, take a short look at sculpture of this church. Normandy is not so rich in Romanesque sculpture. Primitive heads of beasts like these are often seen. The curled tip of foliage, called croquet, appears, often without foliage itself, like those on the left capital. This figurative sculpture has no depth and reminds of that of Scandinavian wooden churches. The south tribune of transept retains typically Norman ornaments. And a small ornamental arcade, there are friezes of geometrical patterns. This is zigzag or chevron, star and billet. Thank you for watching.